Hello, hello, ladies. Welcome back to another episode of the Create and Grow Your Dream Business podcast. As always, I'm super excited to come on here and have a very powerful chat that I know whether you're listening to this video in 2023, whether you're listening to this video in 2055, this conversation is about to be life-changing and it's going to be exactly what you need to be a woman who's in a space of becoming more. So, super excited. And I have a lovely guest today, Miss Saras, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself so that way she can tell you, of course, how wonderful she is. And then once we get to speaking, you'll really see that the words that she and I will share today will change your life. So, take it away and let the ladies know more about you.
Thank you, Breye'l, for giving me the floor. Um, Today, I'm a cancer freedom holistic coach, but that was not always the case. That happened from my own journey with breast cancer 10 years ago. 10
Mhm.
years, yes. Yes. And I was a high school teacher then, teaching full time. And my husband was already 2 years into his diagnosis with kidney cancer. So, yeah, I was a caregiver to him, teaching full time. And my children were all grown up and on their own, and it was a very, very trying time. So, when I was diagnosed, I went through all the emotions of overwhelm and fear and stress. And, I didn't think that I was stressed, but I guess there were, underlying stress, underlying fear, and everything just came to me at one time.
Mm.
And normally I'm a very strong-willed person, very, just get everything done, multitasking, like many of you are. And you always put yourself last, right? That
Right.
was my biggest um, problem, I'd say. Putting myself last, giving, giving, giving until you couldn't give anymore.
Mm.
And when my husband was diagnosed, you know, I went through all the emotional roller coaster. We cried, we did all that crazy stuff, right? So when I was diagnosed, no reaction. I said, enough. I've been through that. I'm not going through that anymore. Just tell me what to do and let's get it done.
Yeah.
And I went through that process, of getting my treatments, going through whatever I needed to go through, and never really took time to feel my own
Mm.
journey and feel my pain. It was 2 years later when that happened, and by this time I was already in my transformational journey, and I started doing deep meditations. And during my meditations, that came out, you didn't take care of yourself.
Mm.
And then I just bawled. I just everything just came out,
Right.
and I apologized to my body and just went through that whole process of mourning, which is so important when you're
Right.
going through any kind of journey. The grieving process is so important.
Yeah.
In this case, I lost a part of my body, right? I lost so many things, but I also gained so much. So when you look at the whole balance, you really can see the big picture, the
Right.
reason for the cancer. If somebody asks me, well, did you wish you didn't get the cancer? I'll say no.
Yeah.
That was my messenger, that was my wake up call, and I am who I am today because of the cancer. So the cancer was my gift, and
Yeah.
it still is. It teaches me so much even to this day. I learned so much every time something happens or something goes on. It takes me back to that place.
Right.
uh, Remember your journey, remember all the things you went through. And we, like, normally, I was a very, very, uh, how can I describe this? I was a stickler for good health, good nutrition, exercising. I cooked all my food from scratch. I
Mhm.
grew my own food. I had huge gardens and I was very active, and my husband too. And yeah, both of us ended up with the cancer.
Yeah.
So I had to dig deep to find out, okay, there's more to this than just the food we eat and the movements we do, right?
Right.
So, yes, and that's when my transformation began. When I started to dig deeper and I found so much more
Right.
than just how like what you eating, and it was so much more than that. Yes, you have to eat your healthy food, you have to move your body, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And so my journey took me to looking at everything in a holistic way. And so the mind body spirit connection, you can't treat one without the other. There's got to be that balance.
Right.
And that started me on a quest uh, to study, and become a Reiki master, to become a hypnotherapist, get into coaching. And, I'm very much into all of that stuff. And all of that helped my husband and I uh, through our journey, in addition to our medical system. We
Mhm.
need our medical system as well, right?
Right.
So we have to work in harmony. We work together. We work in harmony with nature. We work in harmony with everything, right? So that's what I chose to do. And because it helped us so much, I decided to make up a program, because I knew there were so many others
Yep.
there going through this fear. That word cancer just stops you in your tracks.
Right.
It's so fear based, right? And when you think of fear, the acronym for fear, I
I
promised
remember we
Brielle
spoke
I
now.
would
Yeah.
bring that up.
I
Well,
remember.
yes, all fear is, it's false evidence appearing
Appealing
real,
real.
right?
Yes, I knew we would
False
get it
evidence
together right here.
real. And really, the opposite of that is life, right? What is life? Life is love in full expression.
Yes, yes, yes,
So,
yes.
those two, you always work with that together.
Mhm.
And I've made up a program, a simple program that I work with and I take people through.
Mhm.
And the three steps to my, do you want me to talk about this now? Okay.
You can or you can hold off on it. It's up to you.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it, since I'm on a roll.
Okay.
uh, the three main steps that we go through in the program, number one, of course, is getting past your fear,
Mhm.
right? When you are newly diagnosed, or even when you're going through treatments, or when you've done all your treatments, you go home and you say, now what? You know what
Right.
I mean? And you think of recurrence and you think of all these fears, right? So the first thing, step number one, is to overcome that fear.
Mhm.
And we do so many different steps to get you past that fear. And then step number two is finding your inner power, finding your inner power. And again, we go through so many steps, through meditations, through all the work, the inner work that you have to do in order to find that inner power. Do you realize how strong you are, how
Right.
powerful you are? So, to find that again, we tend to lose it over time and give it away.
Right.
Every time, we give a little bit of ourselves away.
Right.
Well, we teach you how to go and find all that energy and pull it back to you.
Right.
Power that the negativity that you've taken from others, to let it go.
Right.
So that's step number two. And then step number three is actually uh, living the warrior mindset,
Mhm.
where you learn how to live in this warrior mindset and allow it to be second nature, like we eat our food and we breathe, right? It
Right.
should become that. Your everyday life should
Mhm.
become that. And we go through what I call the emotional scale. And the emotional scale we see where you are, right? The low vibrations, whether you are stressed, whether you are in fear mode, wherever you are on that scale, we start with you right there and then move you up slowly up that scale
Mhm.
to the high vibration emotions of love and joy and happiness. And as human beings, we tend to go up and down that scale depending
Yeah.
on the circumstances, right? But over time, you learn how to go up that scale and stay up there. Now,
Right.
remember, cancer grows in your body for years and years and years before you detect it.
Mhm.
So, your treatment is not just going to happen overnight and say, oh, the cancer is gone. It can happen in some cases, you
Mhm.
know, but in most cases, you have to do the work.
Yeah.
Now, I can hold your hand and walk you along the path. I cannot heal you. Only
Mhm.
you can do that. I
Mhm.
can help you heal yourself, show you the steps, but you are that powerful that you can heal yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes.
Wow, you said a lot. Oh my gosh. And I'm trying to figure out which little part I want to jump in at because you said so many good things. And while you were speaking, I had so many like epiphanies that came to mind about how all of this ties back to women in business, right? Women in life, women in the
Mhm,
situations that we go through. And a part of the conversation that you said was the reality of like when your husband was diagnosed, like you said, you automatically had to step into that role of, okay, you already obviously was being a great wife, right? Because that you guys still had that healthy marriage, you had that healthy life,
mhm,
you still was that school teacher, you still was that mom. I bet you were like, oh my gosh, the kids are out the house, me and my hubby gets to spend this
yeah,
time with each other. And so, like you said, when his diagnosis came, I can see how you're saying you had to like step into a role again of giving even more because at this
mhm,
point the head of the household now needs his wife to step in more. And as you said, as you went through those 2 years of being there for him, here you are with a diagnosis that comes and you've already given so much that you couldn't even cry.
yes,
Right. And sometimes
true.
for women in business, in life, like you said, we are giving in so many other scenarios that when our scenario comes, we have lost the power to, like you said, have our inner power and cry for
Mhm,
ourselves.
yes,
Right. And it's beautiful that you had the experience of through the meditation, is how you got that voice that said, but what were you doing for yourself this
yes,
entire time, right? Because sometimes when we go through things in life and like bad things happen, it turns in not like woe is me, but it's hard for us to tap in and see what was the inner thing going on. Because, like you said, I'm a good mom, I'm a good wife, I'm a school teacher, I take care of my
mhm,
significant other, I grow my foods, I eat right, I'm doing all of these things. How can this happen to me? Why is this happening to me? And that can truly cause people to be frozen in fear, right? It can
absolutely.
literally cause
Yes,
us. And I think because, of course, you have some women who have never developed cancer, right? But you made a very good point that cancer is something that can develop in the body over time, over time, over time. And so it's now like our job to be so much more mindful of
mhm,
how it is that we're treating ourselves way before the development of anything, not just
mhm,
waiting until something develops and then now we're forced to try to grasp the reality of something that's happening on the inside. And then you also said something that was powerful too, which is so true. How the mind, body, spirit, that's the inner connection. So, like, while we may have the right mindset about something, what is the body aspect doing? I love teaching about the mind, body, spirit, and as they like to call it too, the high performance triangle, right? Because
mhm,
it really is a truth that you have the mindset and the motivation. You can even have the body and ready to learn, but where's the soul? What's going on with the creativity? We were doing all of these things out here in the person, I mean, in the world, showing up as that woman. And now our soul stops us like, um, you've been neglecting me, so I'm gonna show you a little something, something that makes you go back to the soul, that soul energy, that soul transformation. And like you said, if you don't see the cancer as something like horrific, you see it as a very pivotal, life-changing moment for you, and you
Mhm.
see that that warrior mindset is so powerful, especially when you are a warrior for yourself. It changes
Yes,
everything.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Sometimes we need the hard lessons,
Mhm.
right? And that's all it is.
Right.
They are lessons, right? Any situation, rather than saying, why me?
Mm,
I'd like to say, why not me?
mm,
What's the lesson? What am I learning from this?
yeah,
And over time, that's been, because you are given the lessons that you can handle,
right.
nothing more. And it just shows your strength, right?
Yeah.
And anything I teach or anything I say is from my own experience or
Mhm.
something that I researched. I would never talk about anything that I don't know about.
Yeah.
Uh, I can back it up with statistics and my own experience. So I just want to put that out there.
Yes, yes, yes. I do have a question too about like the mindset that you were in when you said that. Like when you got your diagnosis, right? You were like, all right, I'm not gonna cry these tears. Let's just go. Like I'm like, let's go
Mhm.
do this, let's go do that, let's go do this. Do you feel like there was a part of you at that time who should have cried or mourned more for what you were going through? Or do you feel like just kind of like going fast paced or like just going straight to handle the situation? Do you feel like that was the best route because you had already been through those feelings before with your husband and so you didn't want to do those feelings again?
Yes, that was it. I said, no, I've done this already. I'm not going there. I have a job to do now. I got to get well. I have a family to take care of. I have a husband to take care of. But my husband was ready to cry. And I
Mm,
think he did
yeah,
because, when he heard that phone ring, he came in and I knew right away before I even heard it. Uh, I'm very intuitive that way.
mhm,
I knew the answer I was going to hear, and he was right there, beside
mm,
me. So, yes. But like I said, much later on, I think it was 2 years later, when I was done with all my treatments and I was slowly getting back on my feet,
mhm,
uh, when it hit me. By this time, I was doing my meditations. I got into a routine, my daily routine, and it hit me,
yeah,
you didn't take time out to mourn what you went through. And so I did go through that process of grieving.
yeah.
And that is so, so important because you cannot build it up in there. You have to let it go.
You have to let it go. And I do think that it's powerful the way you did it. Not to try to say we all will grieve the exact same way, but I do think that there is a little more power in like right when the situation happens, instead of letting like the vibrational frequency of guilt or shame or fear be
Mhm.
something that like instantly takes us down and keeps us
Yes.
down. Sometimes it
Yes.
is kind of good to try to go for that higher vibrational frequency of, excuse me, no, I don't have all the answers right now. No, I might not directly feel the best or excited about the fact that I just got this news, but I will try to take a higher approach and recognize that the lower feelings, they'll come. Sometimes that
Hmm.
late at
Hmm.
night, you're just sitting there or in the shower and then it kind of
Yes.
hits you. But sometimes it's better to take that high road because being in those vibrational frequencies, those lower ones, can drag us down, down, down. And if we have not been practicing those higher frequencies, it's so hard to get back up. Like,
That's right.
yeah.
That's what I was talking about, and And this is my own experience with my family and friends and so many people that I talk to that are going through the cancer journey.
Mhm.
They don't know how to get out of that lower vibrational frequency, right?
Yeah.
Of being in that fear mode or stress. They just stuck in there.
Yeah.
So it's so important to know how to get out of there. It's got to be step by step by step, small steps,
Yeah.
and that's the only way.
Okay. Let me ask your opinion on this. Do you believe that, how can I word this? It's right here. Do you believe that individuals can have cancer of the mind or the heart or the soul before they ever even have like an actual physical cancer like diagnosis?
Absolutely. See, I'm an energy worker. I work with energy. And when you work with Reiki, you scan the body. There's energy fields all around every person, right? So there's blockages in these energy bands around you. And you can when I'm going through, a Reiki scan with someone, I can find those blocks.
Mhm.
And what happens is it shows up in this energy field
Mm.
before it ever shows up in the body. And every energy field, the chakra system, right?
Right?
Every chakra sends energy to the organs surrounding that chakra. For
Mhm.
example, in my case, I had breast cancer on my left breast. So obviously, my heart chakra was, uh, you know, not balanced.
Right.
It was not aligned. So I had to do a lot of work with
Mhm.
my heart chakra because I was giving, giving, giving to everyone else and not to myself,
Right.
and my heart chakra was screaming out, what about me, what about me,
Mhm. Mhm.
so that's one example. It always shows up in your energetic field, and if it's ignored, then it ends up in your physical body,
Yeah.
whichever organ is closest to that energy band.
Yes, yes, and
Yes,
it's literally like the definition of the word, dis-ease. Right?
yes,
Like the body
yes,
is not at
absolutely.
ease. And so it reminds me of earlier this year, back in 2000 and I think it was 17, after I went through like a personal like shock and transformation of me recognizing like, girl, you're intuitive and like you got these magic superpowers, right?
Yes.
I lost vision in my right eye. I found out I had
Hmm.
a retinal detachment. So got it fixed, went through a whole journey with that. And then earlier this year, 5 years later, the exact thing happened in my left eye. And so here I
Mhm.
am now in this space of constantly just thinking and figuring out like, where's the blockage in my third eye energy? Like, where's the blockage? Where's the disconnect? What am I missing when it comes down to seeing more inner, seeing deeply more within myself. And as I've been going through this journey, that's exactly what I've been thinking about, which is sometimes we get so caught up in trying to see the manifestation in the outside world, where
Mm.
if I was to lose my vision completely, I would be forced to meditate. I would be forced to only be able to see,
Yes.
dark in a sense, which
Yeah.
is really what happens when we kind of run away from meditation. And I know in our previous conversation, we spoke about like the meditation, and I had a epiphany in my mind. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday, day before yesterday. But I was thinking and asking myself, like, what has caused me to like detach from meditation? Like, what has caused me to what's causing it to seem like it's something so hard for me to get back to when I can remember a period of life where I was like the deep breathing queen, right? Like it was
Mhm.
nothing.
Mhm.
Like I'm
Yes,
blocking out phone calls and time, and I'm just sitting there just loving it all. And here I am now in this space where it's like, you got to get back to that. You got to get back to that. And it's interesting because, again, if it was something that I was forced to do, it would be nothing.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. It's got to come easily. And I think we talked about meditation
Mhm,
and my idea of meditation and what I believe meditation is,
mhm.
Yes, if you interested in sitting on a mat for hours and doing that, that's good. I do that sometimes, but most of the time is finding something you love to do,
Yeah.
something that brings you joy and puts you in that high vibration, whether
Mhm.
it's music or dancing or gardening or singing or
Yep.
just walking in nature,
Yep.
to me, that is meditation.
Yeah.
Anything that can raise your vibration,
Yeah.
is meditation.
Yes.
Yes.
And taking that time because that's where I've been at after we spoke this past week, is
Yeah.
being in a space and being intentional. I wanted to tell you one thing I found out about my deep breathing.
Yes.
Yes. So I realized that I learned like this trick of the trade from an old coworker of mine where she was extremely fit. And she
Yes.
talked about one way that she kept her stomach toned was to always kind of like keep her stomach tucked in, like,
Mhm.
like almost like sucking it in.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
I've taken this habit from her, and I must say, I have a pretty toned up stomach, right? And from working
Uh,
out and everything like that as well. But over these past couple of days after speaking with you, I was truly asking myself, like, okay, let's get back into our breathing. And I've realized that it's been hard for me to do my deep breaths because subconsciously I'm already holding in, right? Like, if you
mhm.
restrict your abs, you're already like,
Yeah. Yes.
imagine trying to you can't even really breathe in anymore because you're already at a in state,
Mhm. Mhm.
which the opposite of that is if I'm always, like, holding my stomach in and, like, constricting my stomach, when am I really breathing out,
Yes. Yeah. When we
right?
talk about the deep belly breaths, it's expanding your belly when
Yeah.
you breathe in, right? And then we talked about the breathing technique, with the 4 and 7 counts.
Yep.
You breathe in for 4, you hold it for 4, you breathe out for 7, and you hold it for 4, and you just continue. But when you do breathe in, you expand that belly out,
Right.
and then let your out breath always be a little bit longer than your
Right.
in,
Right.
and then the rest of the time, yeah, if you want to hold your tummy in, you can. you
Right.
know
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. But when when you take those conscious breaths, make it a deep belly breath.
Right, and that's what I've been realizing, that in this space, I've been wanting to take more conscious breaths, but I have to, like, let go of that small habit that I didn't even think about until, we spoke, and then,
Yes.
in the shower, sitting down, relaxing, I said,
Yeah.
"Cyrus told me I need to breathe." I said, "So let me try to breathe," and then I'm trying to breathe, and then again, I'm holding my stomach in, and I'm like, "Girl." And then it's so funny because again,
Yeah.
my stomach is already flat, so letting it go, it probably just maybe goes out that much, right?
Right. Right.
Just the subconscious now release of remembering,
Mm-hmm.
like, let go, let go, let go, let go, has that on its own has been like just freeing up my energy of just that simple habit, and that
Mm-hmm.
habit, releasing that habit to get better with this habit has even just helped me be in a space of more freedom and help me see again, like, sometimes you gotta release the fear. You have to release the lessons learned in the past, and you have to release that energy that even though you've learned these things, even though you've operated in these type of ways in life, there is a huge shift sometimes when trauma comes about, and it's our
Yes.
responsibility to be in a space of recognizing, let those old habits go and get into some new habits, ones that really do, like your three-step method said, help you
Yeah.
overcome fear, right?
Right.
Help you find your inner power and help you really tap into the mindset of being that warrior.
Yes. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So beautiful. I'm telling you, like, this conversation already for me was like a short and sweet talk. it, like,
Mhm.
especially from our last talk to this talk, just those little nuggets that I hope that the women are able to tap into in this message of recognizing, just like Sarah says, life can hit you and you don't even expect for it to hit you.
Mhm.
Right?
Yes.
And when it does, do not see yourself as a victim, see yourself as a warrior, and see yourself as being a woman who's in that space of recognizing that you can overcome this. It's all about switching from giving away your power to figuring out how to get that power back, little steps by little steps,
Yes. And keeping it.
and keeping it.
Yes, yes. And I always look at our planet more than our universe. Our planet, the planet Earth, is the school of the universe, and we
Hmm,
all came here to learn, right? And if you feel someone's more spiritual than you, and you think, well, why are you not there? Well, think of a grade 1 person. Would you put that grade 1 person into grade 12 the next year?
right,
No, it's a process. It's
right,
the same with your spiritual growth. It's a step by step process.
right,
So you are given all these life lessons. And when you get through that, you are given the next one and the next one and the next one.
right.
Just look at it as the school of the universe that I call it.
Yes, I love that, right? Because I always like talk to my clients about this concept of when it's time for us to be confident and take these actions in high confidence. When you wake up in the morning, you do not ask, how is the earth still spinning on its axle? You're not worried about how the sun is coming up. You're not worried about if the sun is going to come up tomorrow. You aren't thinking like, am I going to blink? Am I going to blink? Am I going to blink? You're doing all of these things that are so much bigger than us that we don't even have a concern about. So when it's
Mhm.
time for us to be in a space of becoming more, we have to see exactly like you said, like our traumatic experiences, they're needed on the journey because if we all were just perfect and life was ideal, how could you ever help anyone? How could you ever create that course? How would you ever have been able to help, like you said, your family members out and all of these different scenarios, whether it was you or whether it was your husband. It is very interesting that it was both of you, but it is very much so different because it's kind of like he had his journey and then you have your journey, and you couldn't get so caught up anymore on just giving to his journey. It's like you
Yes.
still were forced in that scenario. It's like the universe was shaking you like, Cyrus, come
Yes. Yes, yes. And I just want to say that, we feel the pain at at a conscious level, the
Mhm.
the fear and everything we go through, right?
Right.
And what I do is through hypnotherapy, take my clients past that
Mm.
into the subconscious and see where that fear started. It could have most likely it's in childhood,
Right.
and that fear manifests and manifests and manifests over the years and turns into cancer or turns into something that you are not prepared for. It
Right.
just happens over time. So when you can go back to the source of that fear
Right.
and work from there, that's a real inner work and working at a subconscious level. And that's how you learn to heal yourself when you
Yes.
go through that process.
Yes, and
So
I do see so many stories where people say like cancer is one of those scenarios where the strong-minded win. Where like if you go through that scenario, if you're already weak-minded of, oh my gosh, this is horrible, I'm gonna die, then the
yes,
likelihood of people
yes,
dying
yes,
is so much more higher than
yes,
people who mentally are in a warrior mindset and recognizing like this is not overcoming me. I will
mhm,
overcome this scenario. And when I hear the word overcome, it makes me think about this series of becoming more and how it's a journey of coming to another space, but you have to be willing to be that woman that is going to take for you to have more out of life.
yes. And the thing is, thoughts are so, so important.
Mhm.
You manifest whatever you think. You
Right.
know, when you think something, it becomes a manifestation. So when you try and think the high vibrations, then that's what you become, or that's where you go.
Yeah.
So this is what is so difficult for us, to stay in that high vibration and think of high vibrational events,
Right.
happy things that happen to you in your life, and stay there.
Yeah.
Um, if you are going through a bad day, just think of a happy moment, like playing with your grandchild or playing
Yeah.
with your child, you know, or being in the park or doing something like that. Right away, it gets you out of that low vibration.
Yeah.
And you think about that. And if you can do that more and more, it comes with practice. Then
Hmm.
that is how you stay in that high vibration.
Yes, like you said, it's about staying there, keeping that inner
Mm-hmm.
power, which the manifestation really does come of feeling good, like really, really feeling good before
Yes.
you can do good. Because it's
Yeah.
one thing to like do and you don't feel good. It's not going
Yes.
to be the same versus when you feel good, like connections like these, they just come about and then you learn so many things and then you just love
Mm-hmm.
the beautiful connections and then you remember these conversations for a lifetime because anything can happen, right? Like I can get a diagnosis 5 years from now. And
Mm-hmm.
imagine if we never had this conversation. Imagine if we never
Yes.
made this connection. I would be in a space of trying to figure out who do I know that is on a vibrational frequency that can resonate with me, right? Because like you said,
Mm-hmm.
people go through trauma and it's easy to surround ourselves with fear-based individuals who are frozen in fear and they're like, oh, you got this cancer? Oh, I know an auntie who had it and she died, and I know an uncle who had it and he died.
Mm-hmm.
Versus,
Yes.
well,
Yes.
I know Saras and she overcame.
Mm-hmm.
So where is she at? How can I get
Yes.
back connected to her? What jewels did she talk to me about? What nuggets
Mm-hmm.
did she share with me? What was some of those words? Oh yeah, I can go back and listen to the podcast. I can find her social media, right? And
Yes.
even
Yes.
if Lord forbid, you're not
Mm-hmm.
here on this physical plane, we still have this spiritual connection of
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that that warrior energy is always there. And as long as we connect ourselves with other women who have overcame, whether we have cancer or not, y-
Mm-hmm.
we always win. And this is what this is about, is creating win-win scenarios.
Yes. Just on that point, my husband was given 4 months to live
Hmm.
when he was diagnosed. He was already at stage 4, but he thrived for 9 years.
Mm.
It's a happy story. And he didn't just live, just for being there. He thrived.
You
We
thrive.
traveled the world. We took a 11,000-kilometer drive across Canada and the United States. We lived our lives to the fullest.
Right.
So, cancer or no cancer, it's all in your mindset. You can live with stage 4 cancer as long as you want. And at the end, it wasn't the cancer that took him. He decided he was ready to go. He was that
Wow, really?
powerful. Yes, absolutely. And the kind of transition he had, was the kind that he wanted, at home, in his own bed, surrounded by his children. And that was the start of COVID. Now, if that story doesn't inspire you, I don't know what will. And, you know, it was such a spiritual experience that
Yeah,
we went
I'm
through with him.
feeling it.
And I was so, so blessed to receive that gift. When we were together for 50 years, uh, you know, and it was, I mean, we had our ups and downs like any relationship, but we had a good relationship.
Yeah,
And now he's my warrior that helps me from wherever he is.
yeah,
He's always with me. I feel his energy all the time. I
yeah,
see little hearts everywhere, in my food, in my water. So if you're open to that, they are never gone. They are
right,
always there. And the reason I'm telling you this is, don't ever think when somebody, I don't like to use the word die, they don't die, they just transition,
right,
and they just go to a different vibration,
right.
but they are always there and you can always work with them.
Yeah,
So yeah, and we had a really good life together. This is why I'm saying this. With the kind of work we did, it really, really helped him live such a good life,
Yes.
in spite of stage 4 cancer. So,
Yeah,
and yeah, I am a 10-year warrior. Yes.
sometimes that.
So, there's always hope, but you have to learn to live in that high vibration at all times. Yeah,
Yes.
once in a while you skip out of it and you feel sorry for yourself. That's normal.
Right.
As a human being, that's normal.
Right.
But most of the time, that's how you get past the fear,
Yeah.
is staying in that high vibration. Yes.
Oh, goodness sake. I'm telling you, anybody who was possibly semi a little icicle frozen in fear before this conversation, it's no way you still can be frozen. And it's not that I am discrediting anyone's scenario, but what I am saying is that when we come into conversation in spiritual union with women who have seriously overcame, if I may say myself, the one thing that really freaks people out, right? Like you said, people hear that word when they get that from the doctor.
Excuse me.
They are, bless you, and they are like stopped. Like that is the one
Hmm.
thing that people are like, holy smokes, how the freak am I about to go forward? Right. And so for anyone who maybe felt like they were frozen in fear because maybe you didn't get as many sales this month, or maybe you want more
Hmm.
people to show up to your program, or maybe you went live and no one came on, or everyone came on and it freaked you out, or maybe you had
Yes.
to, I don't know, whatever
Yeah.
can happen in business. Know
Yes.
that sometimes we're so caught up in low vibrational frequencies over minuscule things that, like you said, we forget to breathe. We forget to be more present in the moment. And so this conversation is it's like a wake up call for all of us.
Absolutely. That's where your inner strength comes. When somebody, as a woman, especially, you'll find, we've always been put down. And when you are told, oh, you can't do that. No
Hmm.
way you can do that. And that's when your inner strength should come to the surface and
Right.
say, I'll prove to you that I can. And
Right.
that's the best statement that somebody can tell you. You
Yeah.
can't do that. And then you get motivated to prove that you can.
Yeah.
So, coming from that place is to find that inner power and your inner strength,
Yeah.
and don't listen to anybody else, but go within. That's where all your answers are.
Right, because imagine if the doctors, like they did, told you and your husband that he only had 4 months, and you guys said, okay, and then you went and planned this whole funeral and just
Mhm.
called the whole family and just said 4 months. You would have
Yes.
missed out on years and years and years of love and happiness and traveling from Canada to Key West and
Yeah.
having you would have missed out by
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying, letting someone else put a cap on how long or how great or how much you can live.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I did say to him, because I was there when the oncologist told him that. And I looked at him and I said, as long as you are breathing, you can be helped.
Yep.
So let's get started. And that's when I studied nutrition, I studied cancer, because we didn't know what cancer was, right? There's no family history or anything. I didn't
Mhm.
even know what the word meant. I
Mm.
studied everything I could lay my hands on and just went nonstop and helped him through. And
Right.
then, yes, and then when I was going through that, I mean, I was doing the nutritional, everything. We were eating, like I said, eating healthy and all that. But I took it a step further and started doing the juicing and started, having more raw foods and more. I mean, we were not big meat eaters to begin with, right?
Right.
And now I am a vegetarian, but uh, we took it even a step further.
Right.
And again, I always say it's not what you eat, it's how you eat, right?
Mm.
You you look at the energy of the food that you are eating, you bless it and ask it to provide the nutrition to your body. So, coming from that part is what I teach. You know,
Mhm.
how you look at food, how you look at your breath, how you look at everything from a holistic and energetic point of view. And this is how you live your life.
Yeah.
And nothing can touch you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. One more thing too, when the other day, what was this? We spoke last week. Was that Thursday? I think we spoke last week, Wednesday or Thursday. Somewhere, so almost about a week ago. Yeah, it was about, I think it was
Yes.
Friday maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke, and then it reminded me of Sunday. Sunday, I felt so depressed. Like, oh my goodness, it
Oh,
was
I'm
horrible.
sorry.
Oh, it was crazy. And it was so interesting because here I am. Matter of fact, it was Sunday evening when I felt all the energy because I spoke at a conference on Sunday morning, and it was like a well check. And
Mhm.
again, like, we were all checking in and all this type of stuff. And it was interesting because that evening when I had all of those feelings, I said, wow, here I am, right? The person who has this platform and who's speaking over here and who's bringing all of these women on and learning their stories and giving and learning and all of this type of stuff. And I feel this energy. And it wasn't until last night where it's like I had this even more wake up call where it's like, okay, Breye'l, you felt that, and that's okay, but let's go. Next, moving on. Let's keep it moving. Because here's the reality, like you said, I could have continued to run all of those same thoughts over in my mind over and over. And
Yes.
while when I felt the energy, it was valid, but sometimes we put all of those thoughts in there while we're feeling the energy. We're to the point where we technically don't even feel that energy no more. And now the thoughts are still just stuck inside of our head. So our mind is still there when our body wants to come over here, but because our mind
Mm-hmm.
is still
Mm-hmm.
there, the body won't even let you move forward.
Right.
Right? So I really had to take into consideration that the shift that comes from within, like you were saying in this talk today, it has to be deeper than us. It has
Yes.
to be tied to our why, and we cannot be frozen in fear. Cyrus, this
Right.
this chat was amazing.
Yeah. That's right. Yes. You cannot be frozen in fear. Yes. And again, what is fear?
Yes. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Uh-oh, are we frozen just a tad bit? Let's see. Uh-oh.
Love in full expression.
Love in full expression. Love
Yeah.
in full expression. And I love that. So now we have to make the decision of picking. Everyone has to make the decision after you listen to this episode. If you got all the way here, you ask yourself, which energy are you operating in? The fear and false evidence appearing real, the false, it sounds bad when you started off false. Like it just sounds bad from the beginning. Right? Come on. And then or love in full, the full expression that expressing those emotions and expressing that happiness for ourselves, because again, others are going through situations that we couldn't even dream of,
Mm-hmm.
right? and we,
You're right.
and we have to give to ourselves and be grateful when we are feeling good, because then
Yes.
when we're feeling bad, we're gonna wish we was feeling good.
Yes, yes. And a good way to start, uh, in our last conversation, we talked about starting a gratitude journal,
Right.
uh, right? And you were going to tell me how your journaling was going.
Yes, yes, yes. So let's talk about it. And so my journaling, it hasn't been great, but it has been getting started. And it's interesting because I haven't been putting it on paper, but since our talk, it's like the thoughts have been going so crazy in my mind of
Mhm.
everything we talked about then to until today. And it's so interesting when we're talking about the journal again because one of my clients' birthday is today and she turned 33. And I happened to look up this like manifestation method that she could go through, which is writing down her desire 33 times for 3 days in a row. And then it connects
Oh,
me back, right, to our conversation about the
absolutely.
journal. And I'm so much now more ready to start
Mhm.
journaling because I've gotten all this other things out of me already.
Yes, yes. That's the best way to get started and stay in that high vibration is I'll explain what I mean by journaling. A gratitude journal is what I started in 2016. And to this day, I still write every
Mhm.
single day 5 things that I am grateful for. And it's okay to repeat the 5 things.
Right.
I am grateful for my beautiful home. I am grateful for, and whatever it is that you are grateful for. It's best to handwrite it because there's so much energy in your handwriting.
Mhm.
And when you write it, that energy flows into the universe and manifests for you, right? But over the years, like I said, in my case, I forget my journal. So then I started doing it in my laptop, but I treat it as a 2 minute meditation. And
Mhm.
I get into that zone. That's the last thing I do before I go to bed. Excuse me. And I write in my journal.
Mhm.
Excuse me.
Yeah, y'all, Imma tell on Saras right now. Her throat is sore
Yeah.
because she went to go see her grandbaby in the Netherlands. And so her grandbaby
Yes.
had her ripping and running and enjoying life, and she lives in Canada. So, when you fly over seas and live life. So when we had our podcast recording last week, she already told me, like, "My grandbaby got my throat a little sore." I said, "It's gonna be okay."
Yes. It was so worth it though. I do it again.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, if you can do that every day right away, it'll take you from out of that monkey mind and keep you in that high vibration, and take some nice deep breaths as you're doing that. And the more you do that, that's what you manifest. So
Right.
I just want to put that out there, leave you with that.
Yes, and I'm telling you guys, just if you're anything like me, because I love transparency, if you're anything like me and you have that, you're on the good habits and you're on the bad habits and you're on the good habits and sometimes you fall off, don't beat yourself up. Just recognize, just get back on it. And again, stay connected with people who empower you and inspire you to get connected and stay connected. So sorry, that's what you've done for me. You have put me back into my warrior mindset. You have helped me realize even more that my inner power is so much stronger than I think that it is, and that I just must stay connected even more to the mind, body, spirit aspect of it. And I just have to start back in those small steps. Thank
Oh,
you for that. You have
oh,
truly
you're very welcome. And
blessed
thank
me.
you, Brielle, for giving me this opportunity to bring my message forward.
Yes. Yes, I truly shared it, and I even spoke with my husband about what we talked about with Canada and the trucks and you and your husband,
Yes.
and so again, us connecting is so beautiful, and I would love for you to let the ladies know how it is that they can stay connected with you as well.
Well, I do have a website. It's my name, sarasnaidoo.com. But I prefer people to go to my Facebook group because I've got a wealth of information, lots of videos, lots of information that you can listen to, and a community of
Mhm.
beautiful sisters that help one another.
Yes.
Going through a similar journey. So the Facebook group is called Cancer Freedom Sisterhood.
Mhm.
Cancer Freedom Sisterhood. So
Feels
you
like
can, yeah, you can go there and join. And I also have a free masterclass coming up May the 11th.
Mhm.
If you're listening to this before that, then you can, if you go and join the Facebook group, all the information regarding that will be posted in there. But if you're listening to this after that, still go to the Facebook group because my master classes come on quite often.
Yes, 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 yes. And ladies, again, I think about this, even if you are not if you don't have cancer or never had cancer, but you know someone who has, send them
Mm.
over. If this message resonated with you, maybe this message directly just was not for you. Maybe it was for you to share to your friend or to your auntie or to your grandma or to anyone that you know, any woman who possibly is going through this or any type of disease in her body. Because I know Cyrus is going to welcome all the women. You don't just have to have cancer to go over there,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
you can be a woman who's had like sickle cell or lupus or anything. Go and put yourself in a energy in a surrounding of women who are overcoming. And I promise you, you're not gonna miss out, right? Like you're gonna be
No.
welcomed.
No.
Oh
And if
God.
you want to avoid getting cancer, it's also a place for you, right? The
Right.
steps you take to avoid getting cancer in the first place.
Yes, yes. I'll be there at the master class on May the 11th. So you already got my email. Sign me up.
Okay.
So
Yes,
that'll be
I'll send you the link to that.
perfect. I would
Okay.
love to be there. So this is going to conclude our chat for today. Ladies, again, if this message were powerful, you already know what to do. All right. You already know where you can find myself. You already know where you can find Cyrus. And we're just simply asking that you just share this podcast episode with one woman who you believe can benefit from this episode. So until the next time, ladies, we love you and thank you again for tuning into another episode of the Queen Talk podcast. And thank you, Cyrus, for coming on here with me. It has truly been a pleasure to connect with you.
Thank you, Brielle. It's been my pleasure as well.
Yes. Oh my goodness. This was so amazing. See you ladies later.